What up, guys? It's your boy Dre Bee Tambo. Today we're going to be talking about systems or creating systems instead of goals. I was talking about this today with my group of buddies. We're sitting around talking about, we're actually talking about how we could, my buddy was talking about how, he hasn't been doing enough reading in the Bible, things like that. And he was saying, yeah, I haven't been reading lately and I just haven't been making it a priority. And he was talking about how he wants to start to read some more, get back on track with that. And I brought up this idea of systems. Well, I asked him, well, what kind of system do you have? What systems do you have in place to make sure that you're doing the reading that you want to do? And then I told him what I do. Without realizing it, I had created a system for myself when it comes to reading the Bible. I keep a Bible in my car, which travels with me everywhere. I keep a Bible at my desk in my office at work. And I have one in my bedroom. I have small ones. I probably have one around here somewhere. Right there. Look at pocket Bible. And I have this unbeknown to me, I have a system in place where whenever I have that moment where like, man, I really need a Bible. I need to read something or look something up. I have systems. I have Bibles everywhere. And that helps me to get into the word and make sure that I'm reading on a regular basis. And this could apply to anything. I mean, I could even use my phone, to be honest with you. But it can apply to anything, especially when it comes to business or working out. What I've been trying to do lately is focus on systems. We're going to watch a video right now, a couple of videos actually. One from Jordan Peterson and this first one from a guy named James Clear, where they're going to talk about systems. I haven't watched it yet, so we're going to watch it together. I have no idea what the guy says. I haven't actually watched anything. But the one from Jordan Peterson I've seen before, and that's why I pulled that one up. So I'll talk about a couple of systems that I have that I recently implemented, and I think it's been really useful. It's something that I got from Jordan Peterson probably like more than a year ago. And lately I've been implementing that strategy. So without further ado, let's get into this first video of James Clear.
I think a real unique selling point that you have here in helping people understand how to win and change habits is that you say, hey, if you're having trouble or you've got some bad habits, it's not you, it's your system. And I think that's what makes this book really unique. And I want you to take your time and unpack that. Oh, wait a second, James. You're telling me my bad habit's not my fault, it's my system? What does that mean?
Well, he's talking about bad habits, whereas I was talking about implementing new positive habits. So right off the bat, we can see there's a distinction between changing habits, bad ones, and I'm assuming they're going to talk about creating good ones. Obviously, we all have bad habits. It could be anything. I have bad habits with the food I put in my body. I have bad habits of laziness, plenty of bad habits that you guys, in the comment section, if you want, just for shits and giggles, put in the comment section what your bad habits are. I'm primarily going to talk about habits, creating new ones, creating new neural pathways, which would take the place of bad habits. I'm a firm believer that you have to replace your bad habit with something else. It's not so much that you work hard to get rid of your bad habit, but it's you implement new systems to create good habits that would then take the place of the bad habits. Kind of like if you're trying to get rid of smoking, you don't focus on getting rid of smoking. You focus on the replacement of that. Maybe it's basketball, maybe it's wrestling, maybe it's dance, whatever, if you're a girl, if you're a girly, and you do dance. Maybe it's that. Believe it or not, I see a lot of girls who smoke, especially at my work. I'm like, I can't believe it. We got like attractive women who are like sitting there sucking on vaping pens and cigarettes. And I'm like mind boggled. Like, really? You do that? But anyway, off the point. Point is, these guys are talking about some bad habits. Let's see if we can figure out
the standard narrative about habit change, success, performance improvement, achieving a goal is that you need to set a goal and that you need to try really hard. And if you haven't achieved that, then it's because you don't have the willpower or the grit or the perseverance. And we tell ourselves these kind of internal narratives all the time too, like, oh, maybe if I really wanted it, then I'd achieve it. But what you find is that the deeper you study human behavior, the more that you see that so many of the actions we take each day are simply a response to the system that we find ourselves inside. And so the argument that I make in the book is that what you need to change.
I have a feeling he's going to say the environment. I haven't seen it, so I don't know what he's going to say. But I'm thinking like say if you're trying to lose weight, you would change your environment in that you don't keep cookies in the cabinet or the cupboards, or you don't keep ice cream in the freezer because it's easily accessible.
Is not necessarily your goal, but your system. And the phrase that I like to use is, we do not rise to the level of our goals, we fall to the level of our systems. And so if you can restructure the system or the environment you find yourself in, whether that means changing your physical environment, so we can talk some about that, like the things on your desk at work or your kitchen counter at home, changing your social environment, the people that you're surrounded by and the habits that are normal in your particular tribe, whatever that group happens to be, changing your approach and the habits you're asking yourself to build so you can keep your lofty ambitions and goals, but breaking them down into something that's easy to do. And finally, selecting a strategy that fits well with your particular makeup, with your personality, your genes, your circumstances, so that you essentially match your environment to your natural strengths.
Yeah, so there it is, your environment. It's interesting because I've watched videos, or I was going to say I read something, but we all know that's a bunch of BS. I didn't read anything. But I've seen arguments made where your environment will predict the outcome. An interesting study I heard about, I didn't read the study, but I heard about it, was that a child, for example, will come out far smarter or intellectual just growing up in a house that has books in it. Doesn't even need to read the books, but just by having an environment that has books in it, they're more likely to take education seriously or have education as a value that is in the home, simply by having books on in a shelf, lots of books. Somehow having that environment causes children to have better reading comprehension. And of course, I don't remember the study. I didn't read the study. I just remember the gist of it, which is by simply having books in the home, children are far much better than kids who don't, just from that. So I thought that was interesting.
And all of those are examples of a way to build a better system, of a way to create a system that promotes good habits effortlessly and sort of lets you achieve your goals as a natural consequence of being in a good system, rather than saying it's all about the goal. Let me focus on this milestone and work hard toward that.
Yeah, and I think what I'm seeing here when I was reading this is, I think, you correct me if I'm wrong, there's a real psychological benefit here with the way you're approaching this. Because if I make it...
I think there probably is, because if you think about it, if you're focused on the goal, for myself, I have a goal of getting down to 170 pounds, which would be an ideal weight for someone my height, which is probably 5'9", if I'm lucky, 5'10" on a good day. But I technically should be about 170 pounds, although I don't weigh that. I weigh 240 pounds. It doesn't look like it, but that's what I weigh, 240 pounds. Look at this dude. Look at this guy. I carry it so good. Look at that. There's no one who can carry 240 pounds better than me. Nobody can do that. Anyhow, but if I was focusing on losing to get down to 170, that'd be 30 plus 40. That's 70 pounds. To get to 170, I would have to lose 70 pounds. And if I'm focused primarily on the number of 170 or losing 70 pounds, well, that would be a strategy for failure, because I'm so focused that the task at hand is so large that going day in day, like getting there, seems impossible. However, if I set up a system for losing a pound a day or a pound a week, might have more success because I broke it down into a system. Okay, I'm not going to drink soda. Sodas we're cutting out. Recently, I cut out coffee, although I had one today. Not going to lie. To be honest with you, I had two, which is not good. But I was doing really, really good the last few weeks, not drinking coffee, or probably the last month. So I've only had, even though I had two today, I've only had 2 or 3 in the last month. But setting up systems, things that you could easily do, like not having coffee or soda, and then focusing on just that and exercise, of course, things like that. But the system, there's something I want. There's a system that I have that I want to talk about, but I want to talk about it when we see Jordan Peterson, because I think that would be a better opportunity to explain what I've been doing as far as a goal that I set or a system that I set up.
About me, if my bad habits are about me and I'm not making change and I'm not seeing progress, I can get down on myself, and then the voice turns into, from doubt to just, all right, I'm resigned to the failure here. Whereas what you're talking about, the system can really help us. And in return, the win there is much more momentum, because psychologically we're experiencing that win. Is that correct?
So one of the most effective feelings, one of the most motivating states, is the feeling of progress.
Yeah.
And if you're focused on feeling guilty, blaming yourself for not improving, feeling like, oh, I'm not able to build better habits because something's wrong with me, that's not a very productive state to be in. Whereas if you shift it and say, all right, the problem is not me, the problem is the system. And if I'm going to change the system, then I can do X, Y, and Z. And we can talk about a variety of those strategies. But each time you do that, you take action and you build progress and momentum. And so I think it is a much more productive way to approach the process of change, because it gives you something to actually work on. Mm-hmm. I mean, all the rest of these strategies, a lot of the time it's about stuff like, think positive or fake it till you make it or stuff like that. And there's nothing necessarily wrong with that. Like, certainly.
Well, I don't think it's fake it till you make it. It's the negative self-talk. Plenty of people, or one person in particular I could think of, who would tell me all the time, don't talk like that. Your negative, that negative self-talk doesn't help you in any kind of way. In fact, it hurts you. And you know who talks about that? Like him or not like him, Andrew Tate talks about that quite a bit. He talks about he explained a story where he had a fight with a guy he thought was, or felt that he was going to beat the crap, that guy was going to beat the crap out of him. But he explained that there was no benefit to him thinking that. Like, he went into the fight thinking he was going to win and kick the guy's ass. That there's absolutely no value for negative self-talk or negative self-thoughts in your mind. Like, do not entertain the thought, oh man, that guy's going to kick my ass. No, you don't think that. When I have a jiu-jitsu match, I hate competing in jiu-jitsu, but I do it anyway to overcome, just because I know I need to be out there and challenge myself. But whenever I'm out there, I'm getting ready for a match and I'm like almost there, like I'm driving there, I'm getting into the stadium or to the school or wherever it's being held at. And all the way up until the match, I have to force myself to have positive thoughts. Like I'll even if I'm like lying to myself, I'm going to kick that guy's ass. I'm not going to allow myself to have negative thoughts. Oh, this guy's probably going to kick my butt. Oh man, I just don't feel myself today. I try not to say or think any of that type of stuff. regardless of how I feel, I'm trying to get myself in the mindset that no, I'm going to kick this guy's ass. Because when you have negative talk, whether or not you think it's going to manifest something, I don't know. But one thing I do agree with Andrew Tate about is that there's no plus benefit. There's no benefit to having that negative self-talk or self-doubt. That stuff, you might as well just throw it out. Because whether or not it actually changes the outcome, you're better off just having those positive thoughts and not thinking thinking negatively about the situation.
If you want to think positive, it sounds better than thinking negatively. But my focus is much more on practical action steps. How can we make the process of behavior change?
Well, that's a really good question. And that's actually a really nice segue into the other video. So let me see if I could set it up here. Boom, 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 boom. Bam. Here we go. And let's see, is there like a boom? All right, so I'm going to add it now to the stage. Boom, there he is. Okay, so this is an interesting video, and I've seen it before. I'm pretty sure many of you have seen it before, but he said something really interesting, and without realizing it, I was implementing the same thing the last couple of weeks. And I remembered this video as I was about to pop it in. So let me play this video, and then I'm going to tell you what I've been doing at the gym, because I was struggling to get into the gym and start doing some actual weightlifting or calisthenics and things like that. So let's see what he says here.
Improving my life. Someone might say that. And I would say, well, you're not aiming low enough. There's something you could do that you are regarding as trivial, that you could do, that you would do, that would result in an actual improvement. But it's not a big enough improvement for you. So you won't lower yourself enough to take the opportunity. I don't know how to start.
Okay, so in this clip, this is just a very short clip of what he actually said. But if you watch the full video, he goes on to talk about a client or a patient that he had where the guy just couldn't do anything, and his bedroom was messy, and he was just a guy, his whole life was just, he was bad. So what Jordan Peterson had him do was he figured out what this guy was capable of doing. He figured out what he was willing to do. Like, he took it all the way down to, okay, all I want you to do is just vacuum the floor in your room. Like, he took it down to something so low, like started off small. And that was like a big thing for this guy. And he's basically started from a very small place, a small improvement, so that he could build up from there. Because he clearly understands that you got to have, you have to be able to, when you're in that type of state, you got to be able to start with small steps and build on that. So that way you can start building confidence, you can start building momentum, whatever it is, whatever the right word is, to go from being able to just pick the crap up off the floor and vacuum to now you're cleaning your room every day and you're making your bed, to you're going outside and doing the lawn and the yard, to next thing you know, you got a part-time job and you're working, to next thing you know, you're actually making friends or meeting people, to then where you're actually like having real relationships. And next thing you know, you feel good about yourself, and then you just catapult from there. Right. So I thought about this a few weeks ago because I was having trouble getting motivated to work out, like lift weights. Like, I go to the gym all the time, but I'm always doing the same thing. I hit the punching bag for 20, 30 minutes, and then I hit the sauna. But for some strange reason, I'm always avoiding weightlifting or avoiding dips and pull-ups and all that kind of stuff, because that's the stuff that I really need to be doing. I'm 46 years old. I need to be at the gym actually lifting something heavy, lifting some weights to preserve my muscle mass. Because as you get older, they say, the internet says, that you're going to start to lose your muscle mass, which is not good. You might start losing weight. You think you're losing weight and trimming down, but really you're just losing muscle. So what I did was I implemented his strategy that he talks about in this clip, which is that I sat in my car and I said, man, what could I do that I know I'm physically capable of doing and that I would actually do? So that when I go into the gym and I'm literally sitting in my car outside the gym and I got my notepad that I rarely write in, but I have it there. And I wrote down what I was willing to do. And what I was willing to do was 30 push-ups, 50 sit-ups, because those are easy. And I think I put 4 sets of 15 dips. And then the other day, and then the next day, I did everything the same except instead of dips, pull-ups, but with the pull-up machine and the dip machine. So assisted weight, right? Because I'm 240 pounds, man. I could probably only do like 2 pull-ups. And so I went into the gym. I had that. I was hitting the punching bag. And then in between, I usually hit the punching bag for 20, 30 minutes nonstop. A bare-knuckled kiss contact for the most part. But I sweat. Right? I'm actually sweating. But I took moments out of there to do sets of 10, sets of 15. And then I did my 30 push-ups. Actually, ended up doing 35. So I was like, ooh, nice. I did 35 push-ups. And then when I was done doing like 20, 30 minutes at the punching bag, I went into outside and I went to the assisted dip machine, pull-up machine. And I did my 4 sets of 15. I started off with assisted weight of 120 pounds, and I was, then I started doing less and less weight for 4 different sets. And I got my 15 reps in, 4 sets of 15. And then I hit the sauna. Now you're thinking like, man, there's nothing. But for me, it was something. For me, doing the push-ups, doing the sit-ups, I did 50 sit-ups. I did 2, while I was sitting in the punching bag, I did 2 sets of 25. So I got them in. And you're thinking like, man, all this guy did was 30 push-ups, 50 sit-ups, and he did 60 dips with assisted weight. Like, that's nothing. Like, what is that? But for me, it was a big deal. And then the next day, I did it again. And then I did it today. And I've been implementing this the last, well, I want to say 2 weeks. I did it 2 weeks ago, and then I did it 3 days ago, and then I did it 2 days ago, and then I did it yesterday, and then I did today. So, but that small, and then of course I switched to dips and pull-ups assisted. And that right there has got me on the track where today, before I went to the gym tonight, I have like a small gym in my office. It's just mats. It's just mat space. I have a really cool office at work. It's kind of large and it has, space. So I have 2 large puzzle mats, and I'm talking like 1 inch thick, really nice all black puzzle mats. And then I got a nice, I'll show you a picture one day of my office. It's actually really cool. But then I caught myself I think I did 25 push-ups today, which I have those mats and I never do push-ups. But today I actually did 25. And then I have my dumbbells and I did 2 sets of 15. And I'm like, yeah, I actually did. And then I did these. And then I catch myself. I noticed that as I build momentum or build this system of starting out really small and being okay with the fact that I'm like, what am I willing to do? What can I physically do? And how much of it am I willing to do? And then I commit to that. Very small, nothing too crazy. Because if I go into the gym and I say, all right, I'm going to do 100 push-ups, I'm going to do bench press, I'm going to max out at 250 pounds, or I'm going to do all this stuff that I'm just not ready for, then guess what? Boom, momentum goes down. Boom, I end up doing nothing. Boom, I end up going and doing something that I shouldn't do, like going and eating something instead, which I've done before. And so setting up this system of just focusing on these small amount of workout, the push-ups, the sit-ups, the dips, like making it super easy for myself to hit the target. Now I catch myself, even though it's only really, been a couple of weeks, catching myself doing a little more. I did more than I needed to. I did more than I wrote down I was going to do. I actually did more. Where the first few times I kept the same routine. I did 30 push-ups, 50 sit-ups, and then I did 4 sets of dips or 4 sets of pull-ups. And now I caught myself today at the gym. I did the 4 sets of dips. And then with the assisted weight, I went up, I did less weight, and then I went back up. So I ended up doing 8 sets instead of 4. And of course it wasn't too hard. It was pretty easy, but I was still, it was still enough where I knew I was getting at least some, what do you call that when your muscles, I was getting fatigued with my muscles. That's not the right word I'm looking for. But I was getting it. And it's the same thing. Systems with like today, sometimes you just got to like push through. And I don't have it like for my business, my auto detailing business. I changed the name from PJ and Pop's Auto Detailing to PJ and Pop's Mobile Detailing, because the software company and the mentor that I have, I wouldn't call him a mentor, but I have a feeling that's what he's going to end up being. The guy who's been helping me, he's guys from like Oklahoma or something. And I'm paying for this service to help me keep track of clients and keep track of my websites. It's actually really cool software that could, if it could do half of what this guy, says it can do, in the next month or two, I should be making some really good money with my auto detailing business. But I pushed through to change I had to get a new email address. I changed it from auto detailing to mobile detailing. Why? Because that's what I am. I'm a mobile detailer. And we felt that by changing the name and then setting up a new domain and then setting up a new business search on Google, that I would be better served having the name mobile detailing in my name instead of auto detailing. And so I had to go back and do it again, which I'm not accustomed to, making email addresses and then creating domain names on those, on these company sites where you could search domains. And then I had to figure out again, how to do a Google My Business, sign up for that again. And I did it again. And because I had told him, man, I should just keep it auto detailing because, I don't want to get burnt out from, it took me forever and I had to pay more money to do this. Like I'm just throwing money and burning money like crazy, trying to get this business off the ground. And, he said something to me. He's like, man, just stay the course. Like, don't give up. You're going to be like, dude, if you do what you say you're going to do and you're, stay consistent, and you're going to blow all these other guys out the water. He's like, most people give up. Most people don't stay the course. And who is it that always says this? I think it's maybe it's David Goggins. I forget who it is, but they say there's quite a few guys out there that say this, and unfortunately, it's true because I would be one of those guys they're talking about, which is that it's never been easier to outperform all the other men out there, because according to them, there's a lot of dudes out there that they're not doing anything. But this channel is supposed to change that. That's my goal for this channel, to not only work on me, but hopefully inspire someone out there to be like, man, if that bonehead could do it, I could do it. I'm not a bonehead. I have a good head on my shoulders, but I like saying that, I don't have any special up here, nothing, but one thing I have learned over the years, probably from watching YouTube, my YouTube dads, is that it's not about how smart you are. My law school professors used to tell me this all the time about taking the bar exam and all that kind of stuff, is that it's not how smart you are. It's the discipline. They would say it's the discipline, but honestly, I think what they were really saying, it's the systems that you have in place. They're always talking about, okay, you gotta get into a small group and study together. And then they talk about, in that small group, you gotta write essays together and then hand them back and forth to each other and talk about them. Those are systems. That is a system. And let me know what you guys think. We're coming up on 30 minutes here. And I think that this is such an amazing topic. It's a great topic. It's one that I'm going to come back to, because there's so many examples of setting up systems. So that way you're not relying on willpower. You're not relying on your goals, which sometimes your goals could be so far out there. Like me, I have a goal of having my first rental property, but I don't have any systems in place. Although actually, that's not necessarily true. But if you don't have systems in place to make that dream a reality, then guess what? It's always going to be in a dream box. It's going to be a dream. It won't become reality, because in order to make that a reality, there has to be systems in place. What would those systems look like? Well, you got to first have sources of income coming in, streams of income that come in, right? That means like in order to have enough money saved to have a down payment, I need to make sure that I have a certain amount of savings to cover the down payment and any costs, unexpected costs, insurance, all this stuff, right? Repairs, remodels, all that stuff. So in order to have that, that means I have to have streams of income coming in to save. I got to be able to cover my bills, and then I got to be able to save, and I got to be able to save at a certain amount of speed. So you got to like have a plan on paper, how you're going to do that. And without that plan, you're doomed for failure. Believe me, I know all about failure. All right. But you got to stay hungry for success. Success will come if you set up systems, and if you abide by by discipline, which is the last one of the fruit of the Holy Spirit. When you're talking about the fruits of the Holy Spirit, it's by no coincidence that the last one, the first 6 are like love, faith, forbearance, faithfulness, stuff like that. But the last one is discipline. And that's by no coincidence, because without discipline in all areas of your life, you're like, you're a feather in the wind. There's nothing attractive about being a guy who's got no self-control, no discipline. Believe me, I know. I've had girlfriends my whole life tell me that. So I know that's a thing, that not having the discipline is not good. It's detrimental. And one way that you could develop discipline is not by willpower, but by having these systems in place that make it easy to exhibit discipline, right? For example, like I talked about earlier, if you're trying to lose weight, maybe not have cookies inside of the house, maybe not have ice cream in the freezer, maybe not have and if it's really bad for you, make sure you don't have make it so that you have to actually take the time to cook a full-blown meal, because all you got is raw ingredients in your house. Where if you're really hungry, you're going to have to, actually cook and stay away from fat. You know what I did yesterday? I'm not proud of this. I was on my way home, and then in my mind, I thought I was hungry. So I stopped at Wiener Schnitzel. And then I got a phone call. So I was talking for like 20 minutes and my food was sitting there. And then I got lucky. I took one bite of my hot dog thing, and I was just like, I'm over it. It turns out I wasn't hungry at all. Right. I got to come up with a system how to deal with those situations. Maybe not drive around with, having your money so easy now. It's in your phone. So maybe take it off your phone. Take your cards off your phone. That's part of your system. Don't drive around with your debit cards in your car. That could be a part of your system to avoid those instances. If when you drive by your favorite fast food, Winter Circle is not my favorite fast food place, but if you're driving by a fast food place on your way, fast food place on your way home, you don't have the money. You're just going to drive right by, because man, if I really want that, I got to go all the way home, get my wallet, and then go back to the Wiener Schnitzels. Systems, guys, systems. Anyhow, if you found value in this discussion, please drop a like, subscribe to the channel, make a comment, constructive criticism or criticism. Who cares? I don't care. As long as you're commenting, we're going to help the algorithm take me to the top. Okay. All right, guys. Thank you so much for tuning in. Tune in. This airs. We start the show. I think I started it today at 8 a.m. I don't know if I should. I'm trying to figure out. I've been doing different times. I schedule this. I actually film late at night. Right now it's 12:30 in the night, in the morning, because I made the commitment that I was going to do a podcast every single night, no matter how bad it is. I'm going to do one to build consistency, to get better. The only way I'm going to get better is if I keep doing this. I'm going to suck for a while. It just is what it is. Bear with me. However, join me on this journey of getting to the number one podcast. Obviously, that's the goal, be the number one podcast in the world. However, got to set up systems to make that a reality. All right, guys. Thanks for tuning in. Dre Bee Tambo out. I don't know if you can hear the music. I'm going to find out.